So what exactly is international relations about? Some people might think that international relations is kind of like watching or reading the news and then analyzing them. But in reality, it goes much more deeper than that. International relations is a subject that allows you to analyze the relations of countries with each other, as well as with international organizations like the United Nations or the European Union, and other entities like political parties or interest groups. It provides special concepts and theories that make you understand how to approach world issues from much deeper perspectives. For example, whenever we have a problem in international relations, we cannot see everything that is happening, meaning every single detail of every single situation. And that's when the theories come in. The way international relations theories work is that they're basically simplifications of reality. They're like putting on a set of colored lenses, and the glasses you wear allow you to only see things that are related to that theory. There are several theories of international relations, but the two most popular ones are realism and liberalism. Liberalism believes that wars can be overcome through human progress, education, trade, international institutions. So it basically says if people get educated and countries trade with one another, they invest in human progress, they give power to international institutions, and basically cooperate with one another, it creates a scenario that makes countries more likely to avoid war as much as possible. So liberalism sees international organizations as important to make trust and cooperation between states easier. For example, the United Nations is a platform where countries can meet at any given time, cooperate, and discuss any issues between them, or even deal to a certain extent with conflicts. Another example is the European Union, which shows how mortal enemies can transform their tragic past relations into peaceful cooperation with the help of international institutions. European Union countries have not gone to war with each other in several decades now. So liberalism sees the glass as being half full, while the competing theory, which is called realism, sees the glass as half empty, and it has a more pessimistic view of the world. Realism, however, is the most common theory in international relations. So realism believes that the highest goal of countries is survival. And this is because if you don't survive, then you cannot pursue any other goals that you might have. Countries also cannot be 100% sure of the intentions of other countries. So you don't know when a country that you have a good relation with right now will turn itself against you in the future. So it's similar to marriage and divorce. So realism sees confrontation as unavoidable, and this is due to the aggressiveness and the egoism of humans, as well as having a world where there is no higher authority above nations. So this means that there is no international police force or anyone that you can 100% rely on during emergencies. Therefore, countries can only rely on themselves. So this can actually make a country feel threatened and decide to increase its own security in order to defend itself from a possible aggression by another country. However, this can lead to a situation that is known as the security dilemma. So take for example country 1 and country 2. Country 1 sees country 2 as a potential threat, so it decides to increase its defense capabilities. However, country 2 now sees the actions of country 1 as offensive and as a potential threat to them, so they decide to increase its defense capabilities in response to country 1's actions. But now, country 1 sees the actions of country 2 as offensive and as a bigger potential threat, so they decide to increase their defense capabilities even further in response to the actions of country 2. Then country 2 sees that as offensive and says, hey, I have to increase my defense capabilities again. And this basically starts an arms race, so making the situation less safe than it was in the beginning. So this is called the security dilemma, or as I prefer to call it, a Mexican standoff. And it's a situation that you can see very often around the world right now. Realism also believes that it might not be possible to achieve constant, stable peace. So the only hope we can have is for temporary peace. And this happens whenever there is a balance of power. This refers to how countries' power capabilities are distributed and balanced around the world. So if one country becomes stronger than the others, it can take advantage of weaker countries. So countries try to make a balance of power to secure their own survival and avoid one side dominating over the others and basically keeping that side on check. And countries can achieve a balance of power either internally by developing their economy and their military capabilities, or externally by forming alliances with other countries. So according to the balance of power, the safety of the international system depends on how that power is balanced and maintained among nations. So whenever that balance of power collapses, then the risk of war happens. And this brings us over to the concept of polarity. Unipolar refers to when there is one country that is stronger than all the others, and it becomes the dominant power. One example of this can be the US after the Cold War. And the world can also be bipolar, meaning there are two states that have similar power capabilities. And an example of this can be the world during the Cold War, when there were two main powers, the US and the Soviet Union. And in this system, one side tries to balance the other side. And nowadays, it could be argued that we're going towards that direction, with the US and China being the two main powers in the world. And the world can also be multipolar, and this means that there are many states that have similar power capabilities. And an example of this can be Europe and parts of the world during the 1800s and the 1900s, the early 1900s, where you basically had a combination of several powers with somewhat similar power capabilities. And there is still a large debate over which system is more stable and less likely to get into conflict. Would it be a unipolar system, a bipolar one, or a multipolar one? And international relations also analyzes situations from different levels of perspectives. So there is the system level, which is like seeing an entire forest. And the system level deals with most of the concepts that I just mentioned: the balance of power, having no higher world authority, the security dilemma, having a unipolar or multipolar system. And it then analyzes international situations from the perspective of some of these concepts. Then there is the state level, which is like looking at an individual tree instead of looking at the whole forest. And the state level looks at countries internally. So basically how they are organized, what are their political systems, how effective they are, what is their geography like, their cultural, religious, social traditions, what is their economic system like. And finally, there is the individual level, which is similar to looking inside the tree. So this one basically looks into the way that people that are making the foreign policy decisions think. So basically, what are their beliefs? What are their biases? What is the worldview of the leader? What is the leader's personality like? So understanding the different concepts and theories of international relations and how to apply them to different situations is important for making a proper foreign policy analysis, instead of just reading the news and saying, hey, this country did this, and this other country said that. I'm basically just getting all the information in a story kind of format. So yeah, if you're interested in international relations, learning languages is also important. And Spanish is one of the most important languages right now. You can actually check out my Spanish course on both Udemy and Skillshare. I have a complete 37-hour video course. It's an excellent choice, check it out.